And it's just like, it's just Friday night in St. Louis, just hanging out, playing original music at a venue. I mean, it's really, it's such an incredible opportunity. Sometimes I have to pinch myself.
Welcome to Creativity with Purpose, where we explore the stories, struggles, and sparks that shape our creative lives. I'm your host, Ann Maracek, author, healer, and believer in the power of meaningful expression. Together, we'll dive deep into what it means to create with heart, live with intention, and heal through the beauty of storytelling.
I'm Ann Maracek, and this is Creativity with Purpose. Today, we're talking with Nick Schlueter, a musician and composer. He was born and raised in St. Louis. Nick is a highly sought-after keyboardist. He's performed all over the world with incredible artists like Pavlov's Dog, Charles Glenn, Steve Davis, Dan Rubright, and many others. He's a lifelong musical collaborator with the incredible St. Louis singer Debbie Lennon. Nick is a very celebrated collaborative pianist and educator. He served as an adjunct faculty member at Webster University and a private instructor at Shot City School of Music. He's notably been a guest collaborator at many vocal and jazz training camps, including the International Summer Jazz Academy in Krakow, Poland. His writing and arranging have been performed to high acclaim, performed by Krakow Conservatory, Common Time, The Outliers, and many, many others. Welcome, Nick, to Creativity with Purpose.
Thanks for having me, Ann. Wonderful to be here.
You know, I think I met you in 1990, I think. Maybe 89.
Yeah, it was a minute ago. I'm trying to think. I mean, I started taking from you. I think I met you before I started taking piano lessons from you.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. It just so everybody knows, I was Nick's first piano teacher. And when he first came to me, he was the cutest little curly-headed darling.
Yeah, all the cuteness has gone away.
You played trumpet when you first came to me? Yeah.
And so
I remember.
It was like 94 or 95 when I started taking lessons from you.
Yeah. So fun. And now, world traveler, it is, as a teacher, of course, it's incredibly gratifying to know that I passed the baton. Because ultimately, isn't that what it's all about, right? Is to share that joy. And when someone really catches fire and falls in love with the instrument that you're so passionately in love with, it feels wonderful. It really does. It feels great. And it's been a little hard keeping up with your career, you world traveler, you.
I have not been good about posting on social media and keeping people updated, but I've traveled a bunch, especially pre-COVID. There was a lot of traveling. I went to Krakow and I worked with the folks there at jazz camps, and I did a small tour, and I did that for 14 years.
Yeah.
Like once or twice a year I was there.
Yeah.
I've been to China a couple times to perform, so that's been really incredible.
Wow. What venues were you at in China?
So it was through an employer of mine. The guy's name is Phil Jones. If you haven't seen his hi-fi and speaker stuff, you should check it out. He's a totally incredible inventor. And he's also this really good bass player in England, Pino Palladino, and he would trade gigs. So he's just super high level, just incredible guy. And I was working for his speaker company as a salesman, and then we did some gigs. So we did a fundraiser in a place called Ningbo. This was like in 2008 when they had the horrible earthquake, and we did a really amazing fundraiser. And then in Shenzhen area, just some smaller stuff, but it was really cool. It was a really big opportunity.
And I call the podcast Creativity with Purpose because I find that truly creative, passionate people always find a way to leverage that into aid for others, which is and that purpose that purpose-driven life, which is exactly what you did with that fundraiser. And how fabulous to know that you can leverage a talent that you've been cultivating since childhood and have such an impactful, fabulous way of gifting others, and people that you've never known on the other side of the world, right?
Yeah.
Here you were growing up in St. Louis, Missouri. Who would have ever thought that darling little boy trying to find middle C be in China raising funds for the earthquake relief through the art and passion of the piano? I mean, it's fabulous. That's fabulous. And I applaud you and I love you for it, because what a fabulous way to give back. It's incredible. Yeah. And so you actually went to China because you had connections through this other artist.
Yes,
yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. And isn't that connectivity what it's all about, really, in the music industry? And well, in all industries, really, it's making those connections and loving the people that you work with and giving back.
St. Louis is this just bastion of people that are like that are living creativity on purpose and doing wonderful fundraising for people and doing kind things for each other. The community really is stuck together, helping each other and lifting each other up. I don't think that's common everywhere in the world. We're very lucky here to have that. So yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah. And I think that's why I keep coming back to St. Louis. That's why I have a home here. And I've seen the world, and my husband and I, we watch TV and we watch, YouTube or whatever. And one of the games we play is when you see something on TV, like, the Great Wall of China or the pyramids or, whatever, the Taj Mahal, we like to go, been there. That's a little game. Been there. We do that. And, most of them we have. And it was a goal of mine from childhood to do that, to travel, to see the world, to experience other cultures, to meet people of other mindsets. And I think the more we travel, the more we realize how interconnected we all are and how the same we all are. We all have the same basic human needs and desires and emotions. We all love our kids. We all want to build a better family for ourselves and our community. But having said all that, St. Louis does seem to have the biggest heart. It's just a community that is full of people who are willing to step up and willing to collaborate and willing to give. And as a collaborative artist, what a perfect environment for you. I can see why you came back.
Mm-hmm. The musical level is so high, and I don't know how we get that lucky in such a Midwestern, small town feel place, but these people are on such high levels. It's not like you're making a sacrifice of artistic quality.
Right.
I get to work with violinist in the symphony. Debbie Lennon and I have collaborated for years. She's got all this Broadway and classical adulation. She's the most wonderful, kind person. Steve Davis is world class. He was like a big head. He toured with Survivor. It's like the dude was way, way up there. And he kind of took me under his wing for a minute and helped me learn to play. He couldn't have been more kind and giving. Where do you get that anywhere else in the world? It's really incredible.
Exactly. And St. Louis is one of the places that doesn't have so much of a pay to play attitude too. They're very giving and non-competitive. If you see a new talented young artist coming along, rather than feeling like, ooh, they're threatening me, you do that. You take them under your wing. You give and you share and you help them along. And I love that about this place. I love that about St. Louis.
So there are so many venues that are so generous. The Kranzbergs have been so incredible for the scene, with so many venues that are that generous with artists and that make the effort to compensate people to perform, even if it's not some kind of earth-shattering number. It's enough to support people considering the cost of living here. So these young artists get to be on stage with other great artists. There's a jam session at the Blue Strawberry. And this young man that's running it, Kendrick Smith, is the most wonderful guy. I think he's in his 30s, but he's just wise, well beyond his years. And he's taking all these young jazz musicians under his wing.
Fabulous.
There's such beautiful stuff going on here, man.
That's fabulous. So I know you're going to be playing at the Darkroom coming up in July. That's a neat venue. And I know it seems like they give lots of people an opportunity to take that stage.
Yes. So the jam session in there is incredible. It's also part of the same Wednesday evening thing where people can go to Kendrick's jam sessions too. So it's not just like, it's giving even between venues. I mean, it just gets ridiculous. But yeah, the Darkroom is giving wonderful opportunities. They're having a world music night. The woman I'm playing with, Asuka, is been touring the world for the last 20 or 25 years. She's had a band of Argentinian musicians in her for the last 20 years. And for 10 years, she conducted and fostered the growth of something called the World Symphony. So it's Japanese musicians, Indonesian musicians, Indian musicians with all these wild instruments all collaborating together. She's just a world-class violinist. She's a wonderful writer. And it's just like, it's just Friday night in St. Louis, just hanging out, playing original music at a venue. I mean, it's really, it's such an incredible opportunity. Sometimes I have to pinch myself that this is actually my life now. Yeah.
Fabulous. It's so fabulous. I know you have this wonderful long-time collaboration with Debbie Lennon. So tell me about how that started. How did you two meet?
It was 2001 or 2002. I was getting my undergraduate in composition at Webster.
Yeah.
She had been hired as a teacher at Webster, and part of my work study was being a collaborative pianist for vocal teachers, and so I worked with her. And that has started like a nearly 25-year musical relationship where we did jazz trio stuff together. We've done cabaret stuff together. We're doing a ton of songwriting together. She's just got the most beautiful sense of like the American standard like melodies, because she learned all these tunes as a kid, so she's able to write like that. She's just incredible. For 7 years, I taught at Webster. I was her collaborative pianist, and I got to work with those incredible kids and kind of give back to my alma mater. And all of that has been in relationship with Debbie Lennon. It's just like one of the great collaborations of my life. And she's a wonderful woman, wonderful vocalist. And if I may say so, a wonderful maternal figure in my life when I'm having a rough time. She's been there for me. So she's awesome,
That's, and it takes that community to really foster a creative artist, because we tend to be sensitive, right? And that's a two-edged sword. I mean, it works in our favor when we are creating, when we're composing. I'm very, very sensitive to sound. I feel the music. I sometimes see the music. And that incredible heightened antenna, if you will, is very productive and very useful in the creative arena, shall you say. But it also works maybe to our detriment. Sometimes when we find ourselves in challenging social situations, family problems and strifes, because we are sensitive not just to music, but with everything. And so I know I've always been an empath. And so when I'm in situations where there is a lot of negativity or low vibration, I have to put up walls, and I feel that very profoundly. So I know that we need to support each other on many levels. Yeah, because navigating as a creative has two sides to that, so that music sensitivity really works to my favor. But if I hear a sudden loud noise, I fall apart and hit the deck and I'm shaking, so I respond equally large to negative loud noise as I would to, say, a symphony, so yeah.
I think being around you must have helped me to be able to deal with that sooner.
Yeah,
because I was always kind of the odd little black sheep in my family. I would always I can remember as a kid crying at church whenever there was something really beautiful on the organ. You know, I was such a touchy kid, and as a man, that creates another set of problems. It's like you're not going to be the one helping out in the tool shed and stuff like that. But my parents were always super supportive. And then later in life, I think taking lessons from you helped me to start to be familiar to that, because you would talk about that, and in a way that, like, as much as a high school kid could take it in, I started to understand. And then I found a book in college that was The Highly Sensitive Person.
Yes.
And it was like, oh, okay, like we're in terms of neurology and science, we're actually grappling with the fact that some people are just more intense.
I think we are wired differently. I think our brain processes more intently those impulses and those, I don't know, those emotional responses to things. But I truly have come to the conclusion that we're just made differently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But there is a comfort and there is a joy in knowing that we're kind of a category. We're not lone sheep. There really is, like, a lot of us. When you start to meet other creatives, you realize that, there's a whole community of people that are sensitive, right? And we can support each other, and we can help each other get through the obstacles, as well as the intense joy and almost bliss of the music. Yeah. And I've seen you perform, of course, many, many times. And I know you get into that almost ethereal zone where you are the music. You become the music. And it's like, when I'm composing, I have bachelor's and master's degree in composition, as and I know technically all of the retrogrades and transpositions and all that good stuff, right? But that's not where my mind is when I'm composing. My fingers on the piano keys, I'm channeling the music. I'm hearing the finished composition. It's coming through as a finished product. All I have to do is figure out what I'm hearing and take dictation and write it down. Right? And when you're improvising, I feel like you're in that same creative space where it's almost like you're pulling the music straight from source. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Yes. It's almost like it's so fast you don't even have time to do anything but pray and depend on God to give you something. And it's almost like afterwards you're like, oh, I just played a retrograde of somebody else's thing. It's like all that intellectual work, all that like gritty, hard thinking about cerebral stuff. Once you're in a state of flow, all of that stuff starts to kind of like come together as one thing. It's so hard to describe that to people, but it's a really beautiful feeling,
It is. It's like all of those tools are there. They're in the background, but they almost become like breathing. You don't have to go inhale, exhale. I mean, there's a joke like that, right? We won't go there. But, I think the training, the hours and hours and hours and hours from age, 4, 5 on, which continues today, people don't see that. And that's there, and that's foundational. I practice every day. And if I don't practice one day, the next day, I can tell. A week from now, you could tell. Right? So it's ongoing. And that dedication and that discipline, I find a joy in that as well, because I love the music. I love my instrument. I love what I'm creating. But at the same time, that all drifts to the background as supportive energy, I think, when you're in that creative flow.
Yeah.
So it's like you've elevated yourself to a point where that's just the breathing. All of that knowledge, all of those techniques, all of that in the background, it's all there. But once you've got to a certain level, you can just let it flow through you. And you don't have to consciously pull any of that out. It's just there. It's in the flow. It's like being in a river. The water's there.
Yeah. I like that. That's a good quote. That's why you're the author, man. Listen to that. That's very good. Yeah, man.
Yeah, don't you think? Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, it for me it really does feel very much like wading into a running river, and the deeper you go, the more faith you have to have in the process.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And in the moment of improvising, if the water starts to get deep, it's like you just have to give yourself over. You got to be like, I trained for this. I'll be okay. I'm not going to
Right.
drown. And you have to go.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
it's scary, but it's also it leads to some of the most exciting musical moments.
Oh, doesn't it though? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Yeah. Yeah. I know that you have some of your performances on YouTube and everybody needs to check it out. Go subscribe. Nick Schlueter. You got to do it because you will hear some of the most beautiful renditions and they're cinematically filmed. I don't know who did your camera work, but it's beautiful.
I went to college with this guy who was a wonder. He's just like one of those people you're just like, it's like your family too. It's like, how do you do all of that? He was a wonderful saxophone player. And then
Oh,
he would play the drums. He'd be really good. And you're like, oh, well, you can play drums and sax. And then he would sit down at the piano and he'd be incredible at that. Later in life, he was an audio engineer. He was a jazz audio major at
oh,
Webster. So then I met him later in life playing at a mega church. He had incredible ability at the audio board. He was like indispensable there. And then him and his wife learned photography and videography. And they're just incredibly talented at that. They're just the most impressive people. And so, yeah, I feel really grateful to him and a few other people too that are just incredible creatives and that you can, in your own musical language, you can talk to them in their video language and they try as best they can to translate what the heck you're trying to mumble to them and they bring your vision to life. And that was a really fun collaboration.
yeah, yeah. And that is so much joy when you collaborate, isn't it? I mean, yeah. And I know sometimes people think, oh, we live very isolated lives as musicians or creatives. I mean, as a novelist, I spend a lot of hours sitting on my couch with a pen and paper, and there is that, of course. But at the same time, the collaborative things that come out of it, this whole idea of the podcast came out of that collaboration with other authors. And I built the platform for another novel I wrote, which is My Best Friends Live in the Woods, and then decided to offer the platform in another way to other authors so that we could talk about creativity. We could talk about our purpose-driven selves, because so many times the reason the novel came to life is because we had a vision of something we wanted to give, right? We had a purpose and an intent and a message that we wanted to give to the world. So, and some of those purposes have been really fascinating. And then I thought, well, let's open this up to other creatives, because it's through that collaboration that I think we make the world a better place on so many levels and so many levels. If we can all, as humanity, put aside that notion that conflict and scarcity rule the world, they just don't. The natural world is a place of collaborative joy. It's a place of love. It's a place of abundance. Yes. And if we can all tap into that, I'll give you a silly summer example. Okay. We bought a watermelon. You know how many seeds are in a watermelon?
Yeah.
If you planted all those seeds and then they grew and you planted those seeds, you'd be hip deep in watermelons. The natural world has this incredible giving abundance. We just have to nurture that, right? We have to plant the seeds, right?
Yeah.
And so in so doing, we have to then share. We have to share that abundance so that the next person can plant those seeds and then share that abundance. But I think in all things, that's a lesson that we can learn from the natural world. And as musicians, I think we've tapped into that we've learned that when we collaborate, when we share in that flow, uninhibited, we just give what flows through, this magic happens, right? And it's something that we can take our audiences on this journey.
Yeah.
And so even if someone else isn't a musician, they have opportunities in their lives for collaborative flow in their field of expertise, right? In their families, yeah, playing with their kids, cooking this amazing meal and nourishing your loved ones. All of those things can be seen as a giving collaborative flow. And I think that's always the better way to live. I think the more you give, the more you get in return. The universe will return it tenfold.
Sometimes the way we grow up, we get into a scarcity mindset. And so in starting to read your book, it's like, yeah, you really have to like deal with how you were raised and where your blind spots are so you don't ignore the watermelon in your life. It's like, yeah, no, there's abundance here. I just need to be able to see it, believe in it, and plant it,
Right.
And sometimes that's easier than said than done, you know what I mean? But I just applaud your writing about that and helping people to get into that journey and feel more comfortable with that.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. And again, the reason I created the book was for my own healing journey.
Yeah.
The reason I shared the book was with the purpose and intent of giving to anyone and everyone who wants to heal from any kind of childhood trauma, neglect, abuse, feelings of unworthiness, unlovable. I was programmed by very callous people who are in their own traumas and fights, and often neglected, often there was no thought given at all to how all of their fighting and all of the conflict that was whirling around me was affecting the toddler, right? I was just something that was there and pushed to the side and had to be dealt with as little as possible. I wasn't nurtured. I wasn't raised in this wonderful, nurturing, giving place that I tried to provide for my daughter. So sometimes we learn by that's how not to do it, right? But also, I think we have to give ourselves the grace of forgiving, which is a big part of where the book goes. And that was very freeing for me. It allowed me to reframe and repurpose a lot of those memories and stand back and say, okay, now what are the takeaways for me as an adult? What are the positives I can find from that? Well, I learned that everyone needs to be seen and heard and appreciated. Right? Because I wasn't, and I know the consequences of that. So therefore, I can turn that around. I can 180 that. And I can, as an adult now, say, okay, child that still lives within, now I see you. Now you're loved. Now you're appreciated. Now extend that forward to everyone you meet. Love and appreciate. Meet them where they are in life, right? And if there's something that you can gift them with, just do it. Don't hold back. Just do it. Don't think about it. Don't worry about what are you going to give back to me. No, just give it. Just love them and give what you can. And that's the most rewarding and freeing experience I found in my adult life, is to really see and appreciate and pass forward that gift, right? That love. Let it flow. Don't be selfish. Don't look this way. Always say, okay, what can I flow out? And that outflow, I think, is where you find your greatest joy. Even in music, it's when it's flowing through you, really not from you, where I think the magic happens.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Where are you in your creative journey right now? What's going on for you? I know you have gigs in St. Louis.
Yeah, so there's a lot of work in St. Louis for the last 15 years, I've been doing a lot of dueling piano gigs. That was a
Oh,
wonderful, like, bastion of like being able to make a living and learn about entertainment. And that has been, and I did the public gigs, but a lot of private events. I had a company that did that. So I had to learn about being a small business owner.
yes, yes.
And that was an amazing opportunity. But I think at this stage, I'm kind of stepping back from that a little bit, trying to do more things that kind of feed me, that are a little bit more creative, a little more interesting, and musically speaking. Although I mean, I can't tell you how much I learned about entertainment
Oh,
being in
yeah.
that field and how to connect with an audience. And so it was really good. So that's happening. I'm working with a young woman. We call ourselves the Outliers. We got a little electro pop thing. It's a excuse for me to just do some songwriting. I kind of feel like I neglected that part of my
Hmm.
activity. A lot of my stuff has been performing or tune writing. And so there's been some string trio stuff with the Krakow Conservatory and a couple of
Yeah.
writes, but I just had that much time to write. So
Yes.
that's a wonderful opportunity. I'm working with a group doing my original jazz tunes. I'm working with that
Nice.
wonderful violinist that I mentioned doing our duo. And then I'm with a thing called the Pfeffer Trio. So we're doing jazz tunes, and that's with Debbie Lennon a lot. I think we're going to create a podcast space like Emmett Cohen has created in New York, where all these great musicians that live in town are going to come in and do like a little interview and are going to play with us as a house band. And we're going to have some nice arrangements and stuff for them. A lot of the guys that are in, and gals in the scene, singers, saxophone players, pianists, their story really isn't told very many places. They weren't big marketing guys, you know what I mean? It's not like they sat there and built their brand or anything. They were just great players, and they loved on the next generation, the players with them. And so I just want some place where those guys can be appreciated and eventually, as sad as it is, remembered, because they're incredible players. Like, we really have a special scene right now. So I'm hoping that Pfeffer Trio gets to do that.
Wonderful. I love it. And again, a way to share.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. Any more travel plans coming up? Are you pretty much grounded for here for right now?
So there was the international travel for a while, and
Yeah.
then there was a lot of local travel. I think this year it's going to be a lot of here. Oh, I played in New York
Oh,
in November of last year. I've been doing cabaret work as well. There's a
oh,
wonderful cabaret community here in St. Louis through a couple wonderful venues and people. And these folks are like, you know what I'm saying? They're in their 50s, 60s, 70s. They've always wanted to sing their whole life. They've had some incredible career. So now they got the resources to support something. So they get on stage and they tell their story. Speaking of giving and like wonderful stuff, you know, and so they'll put together a whole script and do this whole thing. The cabaret thing is a beautiful vehicle for somebody that's a creative arranger and likes to improvise little segments and like connections between dialogues and things like that. So that's been wonderful. So one of those wonderful local artists, he was a veterinarian in his former life
uh-huh.
here in St. Louis. He wanted to play a gig in New York. So we just went and played a venue, and they didn't boo us out. So that was pretty good, you know. They only
Oh, that's so fun. How fun. You talk about past lives, and that's kind of where my journey has been too. Um, I remember, I remember when you were still going to college at Webster, and my dance company belly danced there for an assembly, and you saw me. We called that a sighting. I don't know if you remember that. No, you do. You do.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And, that was great fun. I eventually had my own dance company. Yeah, I named it Abla Rocks. That's Arabic for mirror dance.
Okay.
And I had other women who were principal performers. I did all the choreography, sewed and designed the costumes. I booked the gigs, the whole thing, start to finish. And I did that for almost 25 years. And then by the third car wreck, my body was saying, okay,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, Well, I've always had the broken neck
Yeah.
since I was 16. Then I was side hit, sideswiped pretty severely, and had both my legs popped out of socket and my pelvis shifted. You knew me then. And then I more recently had both shoulders broken in a car wreck. And that was bizarre. We were driving home from downtown, and I didn't even think about it, but that was the same day the Mardi Gras celebration had gone on downtown. We were coming back from a completely different venue, and we were rear-ended on the highway driving 70 miles an hour 3 times. The woman behind us was driving so fast that she hit us, pushed our car forward, hit us again, and hit us again 3 times. She couldn't stop. She was going so fast. So we were rear-ended 3 times on the highway at those speeds. And my husband, bless his heart, somehow he did not lose control of the car and got us stopped. But in those impacts, I'd been sitting sideways talking to Rich, and it wrenched both shoulders pretty badly, which for a pianist, that's like the nightmare, right? So, and it was right before the recital for all of my students, and I had duets I was playing, and yeah. And so it was pretty painful recital, but you heal, you move on, you do 3 years of physical therapy, and you put it behind you, right? But all of that accumulated, really, it was time to stop the dance career. And that's a short-lived thing anyway, it's really hard wear and tear on you. And then I started writing, and who knew, right? So, and our travel plans now are all right now, at least this summer, revolving around Unpacking the Attic, which is really kind of amazing to me. So now won 13 awards, and we're flying to Phoenix in July, which Phoenix in July sounds ridiculous. It's going to be like 100 whatever degrees, right? But it won the International Impact Award, Book Award. And so that's fun. They actually called me, and they have me buying a special hard case suitcase so that I can bring the trophy home and carry on. The trophy is like a Chihuly glass, big curved thing. It's 18 inches tall of glass, and they're having a custom-made metal box to put this thing in so I can get it home. So who'd ever thought, right? Here's this piano player from St. Louis. Now I can say, yes, I'm an award-winning author, and I'm going to Phoenix for this crazy trophy, right? And then we fly in October to Hollywood, and I am one of the nominees for Author of the Year for Best Memoir. And it's in the same theater where they give the Oscars, and I don't know if I'm going to win the trophy, but it's like the nominees are, and there's 4 of us, and they read your name and the name of your book from stage, and then the envelope, please, and they open it up, and the winner is, and I'm just praying it's me, but who knows? 25% is better than buying a lotto ticket. So there's 4 of us nominated. So it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. And I have met the most gracious, wonderful people on this journey. The other authors, the other award people. I was just we were just up in New York for an award. I won the international, no, that's the one in Phoenix. It was the Independent Press Award. We were up, it won in New York. So we flew in, we tried to fly into New York. The airport was closed, but that was another whole thing. But, that was a whole weekend of events where I got to meet other authors and publishers and editors and all different people that surround the industry. And then they had the big red carpet walk and the dinner gala, and that was amazing. So, that connectivity is so marvelous. And all from this, what started off as just my own healing journey, but it's that willingness to give and that willingness to share. And you throw that pebble of love in the brook, and you just don't know where those ripples are going to go. Mm. So I would have never in a million years dreamed at my age I would be flying to New York and flying to Phoenix and flying to Hollywood for awards for this book that was just so highly personal and transformative for me, but apparently it's really resonating, and that's so rewarding. That's so lovely. Oh, Nick, I didn't tell you the other thing too is I'm in talks right now with producer Brian Taw, and we are producing a 5-series pilot to hopefully pitch My Best Friends Live in the Woods as a ongoing TV series, and they want me to be the actress in it. So who knows? You may be seeing Grammy Ann.
So dance, music, writing, and now the big screen, you know?
Well, and it's just fun for me. And who knows where it'll go, right? But I think that when you tell the universe, yes, and I'm willing, and I will give, and I will put my best out no matter what I'm doing. And if it works out, great. And if it doesn't, it was really fun.
Yeah.
You know, and I met some incredible, wonderful people. And there's so many people at my age that are actually criticizing me for not sitting back and retiring and rolling up the carpet. And, you know, that's just not who I am.
Mm.
You know, I could sit back for, I don't know, 10 minutes and go, okay, I'm done. What now? I got to do something. I got to be productive. It's just, right? I can't sit still, because that passion doesn't go away just because you reach a certain age. My body doesn't know what age it is. My spirit doesn't know what age it is. My spirit's timeless, right?
Yep.
So the whole time that I'm here, and believe me, I've had several injuries where I thought maybe I wasn't going to be here much longer. And I think that is part of it. That's part of why you value so much, and you don't want to waste any moment that you do have to give and be here, and to be creative and to continue to be productive. Because I've had multiple times when I really didn't know if tomorrow was going to happen. Laying in bed with that broken neck was one of them. Being in a coma for 3 days in Bali, Indonesia, when I was poisoned, was another one. Oh yeah, I didn't tell you about that either, did I? So it gives you an intense appreciation for the gift that we have when we're here. Yeah. And I just feel as a creative, I always have this sense of I'm not doing enough, which probably, you know, to some people sounds ridiculous because I never stop, but it's like, I just don't want to waste a moment, you know, because I know how easily and how quickly those moments can be gone.
Yeah.
Right. So it's that joy and that love of just the inhale and the exhale, right? Of being able to eat that watermelon, being able to plant those seeds, right? To go back to that silly summertime analogy, but it seems very poignant to me when you have these near-death experiences that it focuses like a laser on how temporary and how fabulous what we have here is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm thrilled that we reconnected. This is fun. This will be the first of many, and I'm going to come hear you play again. Always keep me in the loop so we can show up. And as you know, I'm still teaching private piano lessons in the evenings, but if it's a night when I'm not being Grammy Ann and teaching, why, I'll be there to support and cheer you on.
Wonderful. It's wonderful to reconnect with you. I'm glad to hear of all the wonderful things you're doing and how great things are going. It warms my heart. It's awesome.
It's so fun, you know, and to think that we've had this long connection, and that's something that very few people can have, you know, is this history. And that's so precious and it's so valuable. And I don't take that lightly at all. I know that that's something that is a treasure. So don't be a stranger, keep in touch. And how can people get a hold of you, and where can they see you perform?
I will put some the show notes for connecting with me on YouTube and some of the social handles. And then I'll be around town. You can find me on there. I'll tell you all about it. So
excellent. Okay. Yeah, do go down to the program notes, everyone, because I'll put all of his connected so you can reach out and come here and play, because he's the best. He is really the best. You surpassed me years ago in your improvising and your jazz ability. That's not where my expertise is. I've always stayed in the classical realm. So
without you, I wouldn't have started. And you know what's funny though? Another connection. Herb Drury was your teacher.
Yes.
Herb was also Kim Portnoy's teacher. So I feel like even though I never got to know him, I got like some of the heart and soul of Herb through you guys and learned to play. So I'm grateful for that, you know?
And isn't that always the way?
Yeah.
Like Brahms taught my uncle. My uncle is Antonin Dvorak. It's like 3 grades, but still it's the family, right? And again, passing that baton, right? So Antonin always said that his mentor was Brahms. And it's interesting because when I was in college, I read a letter that he wrote, and he said, "I've never composed a note in my life. I've always just taken dictation." And this was in a letter written by Brahms. And at the time, as a young freshman in college, music comp major, I didn't understand it. I thought, well, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Now I'm living it.
Yeah.
And how full circle is that the teacher of my uncle said something that was so profound, you know, even though I didn't understand it, it stuck. It stuck with me. And I struggled for years with that. I wanted to understand what it was that he was trying to say there. And now I'm living it. And how fabulous is that, right? To be able to channel straight from source the finished music. What a gift, right?
What a gift.
Yeah. Well, Nick, love you. Love you. Mwah, mwah.
Love you guys. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
And I will talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.